a law enforcement official who was briefed on the matter is telling us here at CNN that along with that 3-page handwritten claim of responsibility, as the authorities are referring to it, some might refer to it as a manifesto, investigators are also looking at a spiral notebook of Mangione's that included to-do lists of tasks in order to facilitate a killing, as well as notes justifying those plans. In one passage about the Unabomber, Mangione concludes that using a bomb against his intended victim could, quote, kill innocents, but shooting would be more targeted, musing what could be better, and I'm quoting now, than to kill the CEO at his own bean counting conference. This is coming as we are learning more about the suspect's life beforehand, including a report from the New York Times that Mangione's mother filed a missing persons report about him in San Francisco on November 18th, and also that he stopped communicating with his family and his friends about 6 months ago. Yet apparently no one who knew him and knew that he was missing recognized him in those surveillance photos that have been plastered everywhere for the last several days. Tonight, that's prompting a whole new set of questions about what was happening in Mangione's life behind those smiling photos that we've now seen on social media, and also questions about an injury that he suffered in 2023 and what happened to him ever since. My lead source tonight is the attorney who is representing Luigi Mangione, Thomas Dickey, and it's great to have you here, sir. I just want to say thank you. I know this has been moving very quickly, and you said earlier you were retained today to represent him. And so can you just tell us, how's your client doing in jail tonight?
Well, Caitlin, thank you for having me. As I've been saying all day, if you put yourself, I tell everybody to use their common sense. Here we have a young man who is incarcerated without bail, as you alluded to, and apparently he's going to be charged with murder in the state of New York. If you use your common sense, I'm sure he's, it's concerning. That's all I can say.
Well, you've been an attorney for decades. What did you make of the way he went into court earlier, that outburst that he had?
I'm still analyzing that. I was actually on the other side of the wall when he came in, so I didn't hear all that statement. I've been busy all day, so I haven't had a chance to analyze that. So, I'm not going to comment on something, unfortunately, until I can have a chance to hear that in detail and break that down.
Well, being on the other side of it, you were inside that courtroom, of course, and we learned about what happened in there. You're fighting extradition for him to New York. Why are you fighting that? It seems like it's inevitable that he will be sent to New York.
Well, that may be, but again, the Constitution, and I know I keep bringing up that word today, lest we forget about that. But the Constitution gives you certain rights, and we need to make informed decision. And the law permits, and the Constitution permits, that somebody in Luigi's position has the opportunity to look at evidence, make sure the government follows through a process, and that's what we're doing. So, again, I've been in this case probably about 12, 14 hours, maybe whatever, give or take, and I haven't seen a speck of evidence at all. I argued today at the extradition hearing. I still haven't received details about the charges that he's facing in New York. I heard your introduction and looking into that. But so we as lawyers need to make informed decisions, and we need to get our hands and our eyes on some evidence.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the charges right here. It's murder, a loaded firearm, 2 counts of that, a forged instrument, and criminal possession of a weapon as well. I mean, those are the charges from New York. I mean, so as you're fighting extradition, you're not actually arguing that the authorities in New York have the wrong guy, are you?
Well, I haven't seen any evidence that they have the right guy. I can tell you that much. So I don't know anything about that. There's identification issues that are present, and so I don't. Like I said, this is why I need to look at some things, and they need to convince me. I try to remind people. And it's a shame that we forget about this presumption of innocence that the Constitution gives all Americans. And people don't worry about the Constitution until they're facing charges or accusations against them. Then trust me, Caitlin, the Constitution matters. But
And of course it does. And
yes,
I know
go ahead.
you highlighted earlier and emphasized innocent until proven guilty. I understand that. But I read the police report from when he was arrested. He initially gave them a false name. And then when they asked to confirm his identity, he said that he shouldn't have lied to them about it. I mean, that would seem to be that they do have the right person, given that he had a gun on him. He had a fake New Jersey ID that he used to check into a hostel. I mean, is none of that enough for you personally to know that they do have the right guy?
Well, first of all, that's a piece of paper. I know you probably can't tell, but I'm 5'6". I could write on that I'm 6'5", and all this other kind of stuff. So that's written on paper. What's nice about the law is we'll have a hearing. I can cross-examine witnesses and find out, look at reports and find out what they have and what they don't have. So again, that's just written on a criminal complaint. Without getting into the details of that, I don't see any evidence of a forgery. They're going to have to at least prove a prima facie case, which is less than the beyond a reasonable doubt. But I need to see these things. Right now I have one piece of paper. And again, so yes,
Mr.
ma'am,
Dickey,
I'm sorry.
have you asked to see this?
I have a copy. If that's the Pennsylvania complaint, I have a copy of that. I
But
was
have you
handed
asked to
that
see the
today
evidence?
near the end. Well, that's what we're good. We have a hearing coming up on, I believe, the 23rd. I apologize if I'm in error about that because there's a bunch of dates that's been flying around today. But yes, and like I said, tomorrow I'm going to reach out to the district attorney. It's my intentions and to see if, how much we can see of this stuff. So today was not about that. Yes, so we have not had the opportunity to do that today.
And I know you were also unhappy that he was denied bail. Of course, prosecutors were arguing that he is a risk. You know, they either have to talk about, being a flight risk or a risk to the community. Obviously, he was captured about 250 miles from Manhattan. But you said you were retained today. One big question that everyone has is, are you being paid by his family to represent him?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that.
Well, can you say that it's not his family who is asking you to retain him, or to retaining you to represent him?
I'm not going to comment on. I'm not going to comment on that. I've been retained. I'm not court appointed. I've been retained, and that's all I can tell you.
We had seen reports earlier
So I will tell you.
that there was, people were inundating you with offers to help pay for his legal bills. Is that accurate?
I have received some emails. I have not seen them personally, but my understanding from my staff is people are doing that.
That people are reaching out to you and offering to help pay for his legal bills.
That's correct.
Would you accept those offers? I mean, I imagine you maybe have. I don't know. Have you ever gotten that before?
Nah. To be honest with you, I probably wouldn't.
Why do you think you would not accept that?
I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable about that. So I don't know. I haven't given that much thought, but I'm not looking. Obviously my client appreciates the support that he has, but I don't know. I just I'd have to look in, but it just doesn't sit right with me, really.
Why do you think they're offering?
I don't know. People, you talk about, the Supreme Court says, all these rich billionaires can give all kind of money to candidates, and that's free speech. So maybe these people are exercising their right to free speech and saying that's the way they're supporting my client.
You noted there that you said he appreciates the support that he's getting. Did he acknowledge that when you had a conversation with him earlier about how we have seen this intense public interest in him himself?
Yeah, unfortunately, Caitlin, I can't get into anything that my client and I talk about. So by law, I'm not permitted to reveal anything that's attorney-client privilege in any conversation that occurs between he and I is simply that.
I understand that, but could you describe just what his demeanor is? You're talking about putting yourself in his shoes, but, did he seem nervous? Did he seem calm? Or how did he come off to you when you met him?
Well, Yeah, and if we have a minute, I do want to go back to that bail situation if we have a quick second. But anyway, I've been telling people all day to use their common sense. Here's a young man who's, apparently going to be or has been charged with a very serious, one of the most serious offenses a person could be charged with. He's in prison without bail, as you previously mentioned. And so, I think common sense would say, he's concerned.
Do you plan on representing him only in Pennsylvania or also in New York?
Well, that will depend. I got to see how this process pans out, and if in fact I were asked to do that, I certainly would consider that and probably do that.
Thomas Dickey, I know you've had a very busy day. Thank you for your time tonight and for joining us, and I hope you'll come back and join us in the future.
I will, Caitlin. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.